Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Meredith, one of the Husqvarna Viking educators, and I'm excited for you to be here today as we go through one of the new features on the Designer Epic 3. Just a couple things for people to get before people get in here and get settled. If you have any questions or comments, things like that, feel free to type those in the chat. If Amy or I do not know the answer to it, we will figure that out and we'll come back and answer them after the live. But yeah, send any questions. This is something new and exciting. So I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions and things like that. So feel free to send those our way. And yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get going. We are going to be going through Stitch Creator, which is one of the new features on the Designer Epic 3. That is currently the only machine that has it right now. So if you have one or if you've been looking at one, this is one of those great new features. And what Stitch Creator is you can basically take most of the designs on the machine and you can edit them. You can make them bolder by making them a triple stitch versus a single stitch, things like that. But you can also create your own stitches. So I'm going to be going through that. I'm going to go through just all of the things that I can, and just feel free to ask those questions along the way. So I'm going to switch cameras and I'm going to show you where Stitch Creator is at on the machine. So right down here at the bottom, you're going to find Stitch Creator. My finger is down here. I hope y'all can see that right there. This one right here at the bottom, Stitch Creator. There's Create Sequence and Stitch Creator. There is a difference between those two. Let me talk about that really quick. So Create Sequence is taking existing stitches or one that you created in Stitch Creator and putting them in order, doing like a single stitch, things like that. That is Create Sequence. Stitch Creator is where you can manipulate and make your own. The difference, some of the ones that you can and can't use are going to be anything like the larger than 9mm stitches. So the side motion stitches, those S stitches, any of the stitches like the applique, the sequence, any of those specialty stitches, those are not ones you can edit. But any of the normal sewing stitches, those are the ones that you can edit in Stitch Creator. So let me show you that. So Stitch Creator is down here at the bottom, and I'm going to select that. Actually, before we do that, I want to show you, I'm going to stitch out a stitch, and I'm going to show you the progression as we go of what that's going to look like. So I'm going to go over to B, and we're going to go to B3 and number 11. So we're going to stitch this out, and then I'm going to change it as we go so you can see the progression and what kind of changes you can have. So let's switch over here. And I just have a normal cotton fabric with tearaway stabilizer. And that is going to be mentioned on the screen as well. I love that. Up here, you're going to be able to have this icon that says you need to have stabilizer. It says what needle you should have and so forth, and that you've got the B foot on. And that's what I have as well. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to just stitch out a little bit of this. Another thing I wanted to show you is I don't have any lines on my fabric. I didn't do that ahead of time. So let's turn on projection. We've talked a little bit in the past about projection, but I like to, bring it up in case you missed that live or anything like that. And it's just an extra thing to add. So you see on projection, you have the grid here, you have your stitch line, and then you can see your stitch as well. You can change those colors. And like I said, I've done a live in the past. You can change those colors depending on the material that you have, because sometimes they show up better on some materials than others. So like this one's a little bit harder to see. So you could change the stitch color, the grid, and things like that. And this one, you can clearly see this one well and in view. So I'm going to line my fabric up with one of these grid lines right here. And I'm going to sew in a straight line that way. So, and the stitch does disappear as you sew, but when you stop, it'll pop right back up. But what's nice is the grid line and your stitch line is still there. So what you could do is you could draw your lines if you wanted to ahead of time and use the red line and line that up along with your line that you had drawn. So if your fabric is wider than what the grid will fit and things like that, that's how you would get around that. So I'm going to do just a little bit of this. I want to have a good little progression of them so you can see, and you can see them stitching out in the back. It's a cute little flower with a loop-de-loop. We're going to change it as we go. So I'd love to know, though, if anybody has used Stitch Creator, if they've made anything with it, or or what they use Stitch Creator for. It's one of those things that I feel like gets forgotten, but if you use it more and you go in there, you'll be more likely to use it and enjoy that feature. So we are getting there. I'm going to push my stop button, and so that way it will stop. Let me show you one thing. I pushed my stop button, and now I don't have that line of stitching there. So if I turn my stop button off, oh, it doesn't put it back up. I wonder if it would put it back up. But we have our stop button pressed, and so at the end of this stitch, you're going to notice that it's going to stop. So if you have, you notice it stopping here. And then I'm going to hit my scissors, push my scissors there. So here's our first stitch, and this is just the regular program stitch that is in the machine. We have not done anything to it. Now we are going to open that stitch in Stitch Creator, and we're going to make it bolder. We want to see it more. So we're going to come back down here and select Stitch Creator. It's down here at the bottom. And then we're going to come up here and select B Crafting and B3 and B11. So here is that stitch that I just stitched out right there. And this little icon here, if you push the eyeball that's right down here in the middle of these arrows, that's going to pull up a window of what your stitch, oh, if I can get it to move up. Oh, come on, move over here. Move it out of the way. There we go. That's going to give you a window of what your stitch looks like. So again, that's this icon right here, the little eyeball in the middle of the arrows when you select that. So whenever you're making changes to your stitch, you're able to see what it's going to look like in real life as you go. So we are going to, this is if you wanted to add a single stitch down here, this icon. This is if you wanted to make it a triple stitch, so a bolder stitch. This icon here is going to be if you wanted to duplicate something. So if you had parts of the stitch selected or whatever it may be, you could duplicate the whole thing instead of recreating it. This is going to be your trash can. If you didn't like what you did, you can delete all or single stitches as you go, things like that. This is going to be your rotate and mirror or your flip and mirror. So you could, if it was a directionally based design, you could flip it or you could mirror it and window it that way. This icon here is going to be selecting all. No, is that one select all? Yes, that is select all. So you have select all here. And then this one here, you notice everything was orange there. This is like grouping. So if I wanted to just select certain stitches or so far, you notice that this part is still black, but the rest of it's orange. Or if you select that icon, it's going to select everything. So that's those. If you wanted to move between stitches, so for one complete stitch of this stitch we just did, it's 81 steps or 81 nodes, if you would like to call them. So if you wanted to move between the nodes, you can notice here that it's deselecting them as we go because they're turning from orange to black. So that would be how you would deselect or move between your stitches, would be this one here. Why that's important is sometimes when you are making your own or you want to edit ones that are in there, there are stitches that are really close together and it's hard to get it to select that one. So if you are using your arrows, you can maneuver between the different nodes to make those adjustments. So any questions on anything here? This would be if you wanted to move your icon or move your nodes left, right, up, down, or you can move it with your finger on the screen. And I'll go through that here in a little bit when we create our own. So we are going to select all. So I've got it all in orange. If I didn't, it wouldn't work. So I'm going to deselect it just so you can see. It doesn't even let me select the triple stitch because I don't have anything selected. So we're going to select that. Or select all, I'm sorry, this one up here, and then we're going to triple it. And you notice it got a little bit bolder. I'm going to deselect that so you can see that again. Oh, you know what it's doing? I'm adding stitches, I'm sorry. Let's delete 2 of those stitches I just added. So if I select all again and I deselect the triple, it gets a little bit lighter. And you notice over here, our finished stitch is a little bit bolder. So if we wanted to make just our flower bolder, we could do that too. So let's do that. We're going to deselect everything there. And to move within what stitches here, you just slide your finger up and down on the screen that way and it'll move it. What if we just wanted to make the flower bold? So let's select just flower nodes. So as I go, I'm selecting, oh, Let's see if I can do this. This was not something I planned to do, but I'd like to try it. So let's try it. You never know what's going to work until you try it. So let's move this way. There we go. And I'm just selecting, let's see, there we go. I'm selecting them by just moving between the stitches. If you can figure out which direction that stitch was going in, you can just keep pushing up and down the stitches and get it. So there we go. So all but this one right here. Let's see if I can get that. So, but let's see up here. I don't know that I want all of this. Let's see if we can deselect. Nope, it had it all selected. Let's try that again. Because I want to see if this works. I kind of want to, I was going to originally make the whole thing bold, but I kind of want to make the flower bold. What if we just wanted the flower to stand out? So let's see. I'm going to go down to the very last. Let me see if I can get to the very last stitch here. And then we're going to go backwards. Let's see if we can do that because I know the flower is there. So if we select backwards, let's do, there we go. Let's see if we can get it that way. Get our desired results going this way. And if this is not making sense, please let me know. I'm happy to go through it again here. There we go. One more and maybe one more. Yep, there we go. So now I have my whole flower selected, and you can tell if I screwed up a little bit. Nope, I'm moving it. That's not what I want to do. Let's move that whole thing. And so I can move that entire flower if I wanted to also. Do you see? Because I have all of that selected there. But I just want to move up on my screen. Let's see if I can. There we go. You can see that I don't have the rounded part selected. So if I triple stitch that, look at that now. You see the difference over here on the window? The little arches are not bolded and triple stitched. So let's stitch this one out and see what it looks like. So to tell that this is what you want to stitch out, we are going to push the check mark up here at the top. And here's our stitch right there. Again, our bold flowers, but our single stitch of the other ones. So let's switch over here and let's stitch this one out. So another good feature for the grid is now that I have a baseline, so a stitch already stitched out, I can put that stitch on my grid to then guide and again have a straight line off of that if I wanted to. So let me show you that. So I've got this flower stitch out here, and if I wanted it to be right here beside it, and I can even make sure that my flowers are parallel with each other, or I can offset them because I can visualize what that's going to look like there. So I think that's really neat to have that visual of everything before you even stitch it out. So here we go. Let's see what this one looks like. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to make sure that my stitch stays in these two grid lines that I have right here. So these, if you triple a stitch, it will take a little bit longer to stitch through, but in the end, it gives you a way better look. And I think this would be really neat with variegated thread. I didn't have any on hand today, but I think having that triple stitch and being able to make it bolder with the variegated thread would be really neat as well. So let's stitch a little bit of this out so we can then compare side to side and you can see the difference. You can sort of already see it as it's coming out in the back, but any questions? Is this all making sense so far? Let me know. And again, if you have used this for anything, I'd love to hear what you used it for. So you'll notice also on this first one that we did, this side of the arch, and I'll show you this close up here in a minute. This side of the arch is just a single stitch, but this side is a triple stitch, or a double stitch. And that's because when it finishes the flower, it's got to come back down. So it's kind of going over itself twice. So in a sense, some parts of the stitch will already be a little bit bolder. I'm reading. So Patricia said she used Stitch Creator to make a mouth for a doll that looked like hand embroidery. Very cool. Yes, because you can get that hand embroidered look with the triple stitch, which is really neat. A little curve with a triple. Yes, that's perfect. And you could make the eyes and the nose the same way. It does take some thought to create your own stitch, but don't be afraid to try. And worst case, all you do is you hit your trash can, you select all, hit your trash can, and you start over. go over showing how to select the flower specifically to make it bold. Yeah, I can do that. So I'm going to push my stop button so that it finishes at the end of this flower. So, and Amy mentioned this to me a minute ago. So when I am sewing, what it does to the volume is it sort of muffles my voice. So I try and talk louder. So if you cannot hear me, I'm happy to repeat something over again once I get done sewing. I just hate to not talk while I'm sewing, and you guys just watch me do that. So let me show you this here. So here was our first one, and this was all a single stitch. But you notice also here at this little top loop, that's going to be where it sort of went over it because it's got to come back down. So here's our triple one, and I probably let it move more than it should have. You notice my one side of my flower is off a little bit, but you can see that it's definitely bolder. The loop stitch is still the same because, again, we didn't triple stitch that. We only did the flower. So that would be how you would get that there. So somebody had asked if I would go over that flower sequence again. So I will show you that. So let's go back into Stitch Creator here at the bottom. And we have we're going to have to put our flower back in up here. And I'm going to show you how to save what you've created. So then if you need to make edits, once you've stitched it out, you can make those edits and go back in there. So I'll go through that process as well when we get there. Back over here. Okay, so we're going to go to Crafting B3, and we're going to use 11 right here. And you can even see that loop on the right side is a little bit bolder. So to select just the flower or just a portion of it to make bold, what I did was I deselected everything so that it's all in black. When something is in orange, that's when you can edit it. So if it's anything that's in orange, if you move it or do something, that's when it can be edited. If it's in black, it won't work that way. So I'm going to just select, I'm already down here at the bottom. I'm on 69 of 81. So I'm just going to move this all the way down. And if you can see that right here, stitch 79 of 81 stitches, that's what's right here. So there's 81 total nodes in this stitch. So I want to select just the flower. And so I know where it ends. So I went all the way to the end, and I'm just going to push my buttons, the arrow button here, and I'm feeding through the stitches. You can see the number is going down. And I'm watching on my screen, and as I go, what can be edited is turning into orange instead of black. Do you see that? So let's finish our flower here. There we go. So now our flower is all in orange, and you notice the loop up here is not. And then we would select right there the triple running stitch, and it makes it bolder, and you can see what it's going to look like over here on the screen as well. So does that answer that question of showing the flower again? If not, I can adjust that. So what if we wanted to take our flower and not have a flower? What if you wanted to have hearts in there? So this is where we're actually going to start deleting some of those nodes to get a completely different stitch. So we're just going to trash this, and we're going to start completely over. And you notice that it only deleted the flower because not everything was selected. So if we select all, and then we can push the trash can button there. So let's go back over here, B311. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of these loops right here on the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect all of that. So everything is black now. And I have that center point selected there. Let's see if I can get them. There we go. Nope. See, and okay, let me talk you through this a little bit. Here's where it takes some playing with it. You may select a stitch and one right beside it, and then what it may do is it may select a whole bunch because you didn't select continuous stitches, even though they look like they're side by side. That's where when the machine is overlapping, you'll see some of that happen. So it takes some playing with to get what you want. But what you can do also is if it selects the whole loop and you don't want that, you can just manually deselect those and then go back in there and try it again. So it does take a little bit of playing with. So I want to select these here. Oh, I got to make sure my select is selected. And we're just going to, let's see if I'm going to use my little arrows here to go through my stitches. See if I can get it. There we go. So you see that it's taking that middle piece there. And let's see what it does next. Nope, we don't want that one because that's starting to take out that one. I might actually, you can always go back and delete another one, but if you delete everything, it's hard to get it back without starting over. So I've got these selected. I'm just going to select the trash can, and there we go. That's actually what I wanted right there. So now look at that. That's a completely different stitch. And now you have these little hearts that are within your loops. You could make those hearts bigger if you wanted to as well. So what you would do for that is, I don't have anything selected here. I'm just selecting individual nodes, and you can take them and move them with your finger. And you see over here, this little icon, it's starting to move them. Or you can move them with your arrows over here, just to fine tooth. Sometimes it's hard to get them selected or get them where you want them. But if I wanted to make a bigger heart, let's see if I can make a bigger heart here. And you will get to a point also where you cannot move a stitch any further up or down. And that's because it's gone its max distance that the machine can move the stitch in, if that makes sense. So we'll just fine tune this a little bit, and we're just gonna, I didn't plan on doing this part of it, but we're gonna do it anyway. What would be really neat when I was working on this is I wish that I could select 2 nodes and they do the same thing. Like if I wanted them to mirror and do the exact same thing. So that's definitely something I'm gonna be mentioning to our R&D team, just as an added feature to Stitch Creator. I think that would be super helpful. If you ever come across something that you wish you could do that you know for sure we can't do, definitely funnel that up, because our R&D team does listen to what we have to say. So we're going to scooch up these center points here if I can get this one. Nope, is it not going to let me? So if it won't let you go between stitches, let's see. That must be one that it does at the beginning. So let's go around. We're going to go around until we find it. Where are they at? It's my little orange box is moving around here as I go. See it as my finger is moving. So now I'm all the way back to the beginning. That's not what I wanted. Let's see. Oh, there. Look, there it was. Just one step that way. Okay, so here I've just made my heart a little bit bigger, and you can see in the window too the difference in the bottom part and the top part right there. So somebody asked, is the Stitch Creator an added software that needs to be purchased, or does it comes on the Epic 3? It's not something added that you can add to other machines. It comes directly on the machine. Can these be brought into embroidery? Yes. So if you save it as a stitch, you can open up your favorites in embroidery mode and use it in the same way. So if you knew that you were going to add it to the trim of something, but you had like a garment and you hadn't made that yet, you could put that entire piece in your hoop, whatever it was you were doing, or even the endless hoop if you were doing it along the bottom, and you could have it do all the stitching for you, and you wouldn't have to sit here and hold the fabric or anything like that. It would do that all for you. So this is what it looks like if you wanted to just move those stitches within there. So that's not what I'm going to do today, but what I want to do, I want to go through that again. Yes, you can add nodes. And I'm going to show you that when we create our own, but I want to go through this process one more time so you sort of have an idea. Sometimes I feel like repetitiveness can help understand it a little bit more. I'm a visual learner. So we're going to delete those side 2 pieces there again. Let me preface this too, though. Somebody can you add more nodes? When you add more nodes to an existing design, what it will do, and I'll show you when we get done, it can sometimes separate the design a little bit, and then you're having to move all of those nodes again to get them realigned. So it just depends on the stitch, but feel free to play with it. And like I said, if you don't like what it's done, you can just delete it and start over. It's not going to hurt anything. Where's the deselect option? So I'll show you that. Basically, whatever you did to select, you hit the same thing to deselect, or if you're selecting a node specifically. So right here, so deselect all of those. They were already all selected in orange right there. So to deselect, if you see how this is lit up blue down here, push that again and it's going to deselect all of them. So let's get rid of this little loop guy right here. So I'm going to push this button here to select as I go, and it's going to loop around here just like that. See, yep. And I feel like I missed one somewhere. I'm missing these guys here. Let's see if I can get them. We're going to deselect. I'm going to start again. Nope, that's not what I want. I don't want that one. Let's try this one over here. And then we're going to start selecting them. So I'm just feeding through my stitches right here. Nope, that's not the one we want either, because you notice how it was starting to go down here. So you can manually select them as well like this, but sometimes when you have a bigger design like this that overlaps a lot, you notice how I tried to select this one here and it selects all of this because it thinks I'm touching, there's another node there because there is some overlap running that it has. So sometimes it's easier just to feed through the stitches that are there. So let's try that again. So we're going to select and let's go around and we'll delete what we have here and see if there's any other nodes we need to get rid of. Nope, I think that actually, I'm worried about this one right here that's not selected, but we're going to see. So if I push trash, you see that right there, how it moved that little part up. So what we're going to do is we're going to select, I'm going to feed through because I'm trying to push this node and sometimes it just can't tell that's what you're wanting to select. So I'm going to feed through my nodes until I get to that one. Hopefully, oh, there it was right there. So that sort of is has a little box around it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that one down. But what it's doing, see, I don't like that. Let's try again. This is what I get for trying to, this is what I get for trying to show you again. Now it's not going to like the ones I'm selecting. Let's try again. So you notice how sometimes you have a full orange square or you have an outline. And the difference between those is when you have an outline, that means that there's multiple nodes there. And that's what you're seeing. So we're going to try, you know what? We're just going to trash this and we are going to start over. We've got time, so let's do it because I don't like where that's going. And this is how easy it is. If you don't like the direction that your stitch creator is going, what you're doing, this is what you can do. So we're going to select, there. So you notice this one is just an orange square. It's probably really hard to see, but there's an orange square here. And then now these are solid squares. That means there's another node under all three of these here. So let's trash that there. I want to move this whole thing. What I did before was I just selected that one node back over there. Let me see if I can get back around to it. What I did was, if it'll get back over there. Nope, I'm going back the other way. You can move the entire part of it. So let's multi-select. So I have this one up here, has an orange square around it. I'm going to select my multi-select and we are going to move through this heart so that the entire thing, see, and now it wants to just do that. So let's try it that way. There's no more to select. I'm already at 62. So let's just move this half down and then we will come over here and we're going to move this half down. So let's deselect really quick and select here. Nope, not that one. We want to go the other way. There we go. And we're going to move this part of the heart down now. Like that. And then we can move this node right up there. You see how our heart doesn't go all the way up. We're just going to move that one up right there. And now we have the same thing again windowed. So this looks completely different than what we've been stitching out. So let's stitch this out now so you can see how you can make them different. Somebody said, can the top nodes be rounded? I don't think so. So if you're familiar with our software, you know that if you have a square, that's going to give you that right angle. But if you have a circle, it's going to give you that curve. I don't think our software is that advanced with Stitch Creator yet to be able to do rounded curves versus like straight edge curves. Can you use a stylus to make it easier? Yes, you need to use one of the rubber tip ones. And I've played with it both ways. I've used my finger, I've used the arrows, I've used this. Just figure out what works best for you. I think everybody has their own preference, but this type like this will not work on it. It's got to be one of these, the rubber ones, because this is like a tablet and you wouldn't on a tablet be able to just poke and point with the plastic stylus there. So let's stitch out this next stitch. So I'm going to push the arrow, and what that's going to do is it's going to put my stitch over here into our little grid. And again, I'm going to line up my next stitch in that same grid that I had lined up earlier. And I'm also going to try and line up my flowers again so that they're all even all the way across. And this is just a single stitch, so it shouldn't take us too long this time. But is all of this making sense so far? Because once I get done stitching this one out, we're going to move on to the next thing. And I hope you guys can still hear me. If not, if you have questions, please let me know. So we're going to stitch out just a couple more of these flowers. So I'm going to push my stop button on my machine. And when it gets to the end, you notice it slowed down. I haven't let up on my presser foot at all, or on my foot pedal at all, and it stops. And I'm going to push my scissors. So there we go. So here was our original stitch. Here was our bold for our triple running stitch for our flowers. We didn't do these outside parts. And then here's a completely different way of making that stitch. So many different things you can do with them. Go in there, just find different stitches and see what will work. If you can't use a stitch, the machine will tell you this is not an editable stitch. So things like that. So let's go on to the next thing. I want to show you an applique stitch. So, you have your normal applique stitch. So let's stitch that one out really quick. And then what that looks like bold. And this is where I think variegated thread would be really neat as well. So let's go back over here to utility, basic sewing. So this next one, applique and mending. I love that it makes the categories for everything that's in here. So any of these applique stitches here, I'm going to do this one right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my grid on and my projection because I didn't bring the right foot over here to do this. So we're going to make it work for what we need. And I'm going to do a little bit of applique sewing here. And this is just a normal applique stitch. I might actually make this a little bit wider. So can you see my stitch getting a little bit wider here? And I'm going to move this over just a little bit. There we go. Yes. Okay. So let's do just a little bit of this. And this is just a square that I did double-sided fusible too. So if you were to just turn on your machine right now and select an applique stitch, this is what you would get. But I think sometimes we could make it bolder and look a little bit more predominant and stand out a little bit more. Sometimes you don't want your applique stitch to blend in. So let's come over here. And we're going to, again, select Stitch Creator down here at the bottom. It's down here. I know my camera, I don't think it's showing it completely. It's the second icon over here at the bottom. We are going to come up here and select a 2 for our applique and that stitch we had right there. And then we're just going to make it a triple stitch like that. And you see the difference that it makes. It makes it so much bolder over here, just like that. And all we're going to do is push the check mark. And there it is. And I didn't have to lengthen it in Stitch Creator. I can take that stitch that I created and lengthen it right here. And I don't know what I lengthened that to, so I'm just going to eyeball it. I think I did it at 4. So now let's stitch this one out and you can see the difference. And again, it's going to take a little bit longer. I'm going to stop with my needle down. My thread is getting sewn in over here, so we're going to move that. Oh, thank you, Amy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. Normally I'm so good about that. I'm sorry. Amy's like, camera. So sorry. Let me show you this again. Where am I at? Over here. This one here. So I've already started here. I'm sorry, y'all. I'll do a little bit more. I'm going to show it to you when it's done anyway. So sorry. It's Wednesday. My brain is here, but apparently it's not fully here. So let's see what this looks like. And you can see the difference about what a triple stitch can do. So look at the difference. Let me see if I can, let's try this camera here. So the one on the side over here is our single running stitch. And then there's our triple one. What a huge difference that makes. So if you are wanting your appliques to really stand out and pop, definitely use a triple stitch, and you could do the variegated thread, all kinds of fun things. So one of our Viking Sewing Gallery stores, they said, I made a mushroom and a sewing machine stitch with the Stitch Creator. Yes. So you may be familiar too. Within our machines, we've got the, what's the word for it? Or what's the name for it? I can't think of it because I wasn't thinking about talking about it. Where it's got projects that are uploaded in there. There was one that was added, and I know it's on the My Sewnet Studio. There's like a little heartbeat and then a heart that was created. So there's instructions for creating some fun stitches. I know in the past we have created a spider and a spider web using the 8-way stitches, but this is definitely a game changer when it comes to Stitch Creator. You can go in there and see it as you're creating it. With the 8-way stitches, you can sort of see it, but you got to get it all stitched out in the end anyway. So yeah, I'd love to see that. If you would like to share pictures of those, the mushroom and the sewing machine stitch, or even just send those over to me. I'd love to try those. So next, what we are going to do is we are going to just create a stitch now. So I created a palm tree, and I was worried I wouldn't be able to recreate it live with all of the pressure. So I took a picture of it so I would know where to put my nodes at. So that's what we're going to do next. We are going to create our own stitches. So we are going to open up Stitch Creator again down here at the bottom. And this is how you would select. Actually, really quick, I want to show you one thing. Somebody had asked if you add stitches to an existing design. So let me go in there and show you that and how that can sometimes help you and work. And sometimes it sort of shifts the whole stitch. So let's show you that really quick. So let's go back over here to, I'm going to just pull up that stitch that I had again. And B2, because I did try to do this. Am I under the, oh, no, B3, I'm sorry, not B2, B3, and this one right here. So say I had made my heart a little bit higher. So somebody asked how wide a stitch can you, so these are the 9 millimeters is how wide these can go. They can't go any wider. You can't edit the omni motion stitches because they're side motion, they're bigger. So when you select a stitch on the machine, it'll tell you if you can edit it or not. It's not going to let you edit something that's not editable. And the space right in here on the screen, this is the space you have to work within right here. So nothing bigger than that. You can always go smaller or whatever it is you're wanting to do. So let's go. I'm going to deselect everything here. But say I wanted to make this heart bigger like I did on the other stitch. Oh, we're going to move this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start moving this up. Oh, because I want to show you. Let me see. I switch to this one. Yeah, there it goes. If I wanted to add nodes and make my heart, once I got it there, my heart will get there. Hold on, y'all. Bear with me. We're going to move it as we go. I feel like if I use my finger to move it, you can't see what I'm doing. So it may take a little bit more time with me using the arrows, but I want you to be able to see as I'm going. So say I wanted to add a node right in here. So I'm going to select this button right here. You see how it shifts it? It pulled everything up. So if I delete that one that I just did, I'm back in place. So let's try adding the stitch to the other side. And it still did it. Sometimes it just pulls the entire thing and adds more into it that way. So definitely play with it and see if you can add in stitches. You can add in stitches, but sometimes it can shift everything and move it, and then you just have to move it all. Yes, so I'm going to show you that here in just a minute. Somebody said, if you create a stitch, can you save it and recall it later? So what I did for my palm tree stitch is when I created it originally, I did my palm tree and then I came straight back down. Well, then I have this stitch line that goes through the middle of my palm tree, and I didn't like that. So I'm going to show you how I saved it and then went back in there and edited it. We're going to go through that whole process. So let's select all of this and delete that. So now we've got a blank screen here. Nothing's in our stitch window. what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start adding stitches. So there's one, and I like to start out my stitches with 2 or 3 stitches. And what that does is when you are creating a stitch, it gives you space between it. So you're just creating one stitch. So when you're done with that one stitch, it's going to duplicate it. So if I didn't have those 1, 2, or 3 stitches at the beginning, it's basically going to put my stitches right on top of each other. So let's space them out just a little bit. So I've added in 3 stitches here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another node, but this time I'm going to take this one and I'm going to scooch it up over here. And again, I'm using my finger, but let me use my little nodes here. So like that. And then if we wanted to add a, we're just going to keep adding them. That's what we're doing. And I'm just using, what I'm going to do just to make this go a little bit faster, I'm going to put it roughly where I want it, and then I'll maneuver it once I get there. And there's our next one. And we're going to move it over here. And you can always go back and move other stitches. If you don't like how something's going, you just make those adjustments. But what I like to say is just trust the process, create a rough base for what you're wanting, and then you can always go in there and select those individual nodes to adjust them. So, and Amy did an awesome little video using Stitch Creator 2 not long ago, making an umbrella. So the possibilities are almost endless for what you can create. You just really have to have the thought process. I don't like how far that is over there. You really just have to have the thought process of how it's going to stitch out. So like, this is where it becomes difficult. Oh, no, I was able to get that one there. So you can see my palm tree, it's starting to come into place or into view there. We're going to move this one up. And we're going to add another one. Oh, see, and sometimes I don't know, and maybe one of the other educators or maybe somebody knows why. I don't understand the rhyme or reason for where when I select a new stitch, where it puts it or why it puts it in a certain place. Because sometimes you see how that one, it's just right above it, but then other times it's further down. I don't understand. So maybe there's a rhyme or reason to that I don't know. So I've got my 2 leaves here, and again, I can adjust them here in a minute, but now I'm going to do my little palm or my actual trunk of my tree next. So we're just going to start adding some nodes. And you know what's great about a palm tree is it doesn't have a straight trunk. It's always like a wonky one. So let's, nope, too much. See, sometimes it gets a little excited. And you just make it until you get it to where you want it. Let's do one more. Actually, I don't like how long that is, so we're gonna delete. I shouldn't have deleted it. I could have just scooted it over, but there we go. So there's our 4 nodes for our trunk, and then we're gonna make it go across. So there, that is there. We're gonna come back over as far as we want it to go back up, and then we're gonna work our way back up over here. Sort of just letting it go around. Any questions so far? Is this making sense? And you can see what it's creating over here. You see this? It's starting to overlap my tree a little bit. This is what it would look like if I were to stitch it out right now. And that's not what we want. So we're just going to keep on going. My tree is getting a little fat over there. So let's slim it down a little bit. And now we're going to do our next. I need to scoot these over some more. There we go. And then our next stitch, and here's our next leaf. You see how that node, it went all the way up there. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is for why it, see, now this one's right below it. I don't know. Maybe one of the other educators knows or somebody knows. Let me see, somebody's got a question. Can you copy and paste like one side of the palm tree and then copy it and mirror it? You could. I didn't want my palm tree to be the same. What you could do is you could select those stitches that you had already created, and then at the bottom you have that way to do that over to mirror it over. I can show you how to do that here in a minute, but I think you can. It would just be making sure that your stitches still connect. You have to think backwards. Like I'm coming back up on my tree, but now I've got to be able to get it back down to make the next stitch, and you'll see what that looks like as we go. So we're going to come right back up over here and just keep adding our nodes and making our our palm tree leaves. Here we go. You see, this is looking like a hot mess over here, but you got to just trust the process. It'll get there, I promise. My tree's I had time with my tree that I created earlier to play with it some more. See, sometimes it's hard to there you go, get that stitch moved around. And that's where those arrows come into play. So let's do a couple more and then I'll show you. So if I were to stop right here, this is not a great looking palm tree. Let me see. So this is where you can make your little adjustments if you need to. It was a lot better when I created it earlier. But there we go. We're getting there. You just move them around and finagle them where you want them. But if I were to stop right here, here's where we end it. If you look right here, this is what it's going to look like. So it's going to do this stitch and then it's going to start the stitch all over and it's going to layer it like that. So what you want to do is you want to make it go. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. I have the wrong one selected. Hold on. Let me come over here and finagle down. So now I know I'm on my last stitch there and I can tell I'm at 32 of 32 down here. So I'm going to add stitches and say I just wanted to add those. You see how my palm tree is separating right there? So let me add one more until I get to the bottom of my tree. And then that's where it'll start the next one. So I'm going to stitch this out and I'm going to show you how, if you didn't like this, you could go in there and you could change it. So we are going to go to, I'm going to push my check mark there. We're going to come over here real quick. Somebody said, is there a maximum number of nodes you can have? I don't know. I haven't exceeded a maximum number. The heart one I was using earlier had 80 some. The palm tree I made earlier had 50. So I don't know if there's a maximum. That's a good question. I will ask and find out. So here is my palm tree right here. And I'm going to stitch this out so you can see what this looks like if I were to just leave it as is. And when I did this, like I said, I didn't like having this line down the middle of my palm tree. So again, this is where you can save it and go back in there. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to create these 4. And there it stops. I'm going to push my scissors. So here's my palm tree that I made. I just created in Stitch Creator. You saw how quickly I did. I mean, I didn't do it that quick. I did it quickly enough. And we just created a new stitch that is not on the machine already. So I don't like that line running through the middle of it. You see that? I don't like that. So what we're going to do, this is how you save it. I know a couple of people have asked that. We're going to come down here to save. It's going to be right down here at the bottom. And I'm going to, I've already saved one as the palm tree. So we're just going to save it as palm tree number 2. And we're going to push save. So now what I want to do is if I want to edit this stitch, I'm going to come down here to Stitch Creator. I'm going to select the little file folder right here. And I'm going to select Palm Tree 2 right there. Push and hold, bring that in. So there's the stitch we just created. If I were to, so I'm going to just show you this, the process. If I were to pull up that stitch like I just had and I didn't make any changes and I wanted to go and edit it, if I hit Stitch Creator, it's not going to pull that stitch in there. It's going to bring up a brand new clean window. So before you start to create something else, make sure if you like that stitch, you save it. Otherwise, you're just going to have to do it all over again. So what we want to do now is I want to move those nodes that are on that go down the middle. We're going to move them. So I'm going to start down here at the bottom. And basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete them until I get back up. So now I'm right back up here at the point where it stopped. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add them. But this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up and overlap them. I'm pushing the arrows the right way. Oh, pushing the wrong one, like that. And I'm just going to keep creating them that way until I get back down to the bottom. And this is where fine tuning with those arrows is super helpful. So let's scoop this one up. So bear with me as we do this. You're going to do this with me. This one's not going to want to move because I've got all those other nodes over there. There we go. So I like to move it and get it roughly in place. And then what I'll do is I'll use the arrows to fine tune it. Just like that. So this is all based off of how many nodes you used to create your stitch, how long this might take you to adjust them. Come on. Nope, I want you. Come on. There we go. Is all of this making sense so far? Does that answer the question for how to save or how to edit? See, sometimes your nodes are just really close together and your screen doesn't realize that's what you're selecting. So we're going to just move them with the arrows. So if that does not answer those questions, let me know. I'm happy to show you that again. It's really easy. There we go. We are almost down to the bottom. There we go. Just a few more. Thanks for hanging with me. I hope this has been fun because we are getting to the end. So I'm going to stitch this one out here in just a minute and show you the difference that it made. And one more, maybe two, if I want to bring it back over to the center. So let's scooch this guy. There we go. Nope, I keep hitting that center button instead of. So what I want to do too is I need to get this back over to my center line. So that when it starts back, it's going to start with that next stitch. So see that over here, how much better this looks? So let's stitch this out and you can see. We are going to push the check mark button. Yes, so somebody asked, I see a couple questions, hold on. So when you created your tree, it automatically created more than one. So yes, when you create one stitch, unless you have these stops selected, it's going to add in, it's going to just keep repeating that stitch. So let me show you on the screen here. I just created this stitch that's above my fingers there. If I push my stop button on my machine, then I'm only going to have one stitch and that's what I created. But if you deselect that, then it's just going to continue to make that stitch as long as you want it to. Could you have started creating the palm tree at the base and then you could have ended at the bottom? You could have just come up that way and then back around. It's definitely, I know I've mentioned this in the past. I am not an out of the box thinker. I am a follow the line thinker. So sometimes people will say things and I'm like, oh, that makes so much more sense. Why didn't I think of that? My daughter is like that. She is an out of the box for a 6-year-old. She's an out of the box thinker. Oh, not that yet. And it amazes me sometimes the things she comes up with. This one here, this is what I want. So now I've got my palm tree here and I'm going to stitch out this palm tree again, but without the line down the center. So it sort of is doing what it did over here with our first stitch. You notice how that second arch had more of like a double stitch. It's doing that because it's got to stitch back over. So one side will be a little bit bolder, but I really don't think anybody's going to notice the difference there. So we're going to just cut there. You can see the difference. So look at this. You see how much better that palm tree looks now without a line running through the middle of it, like it's got a crack in its trunk. So there you go. I hope that answered those questions with saving and then editing them. If not, let me know. I still have a little bit of time. I can go through that again. Amy is going to send me over our next Facebook Lives. And while she does that, I am going to mention also we are doing something a little different this summer. We're going to try something, the education team. So throughout the months of June and July, you will see some random events on our Facebook page and they will be streamed to both Facebook and YouTube. I'll preface that because I know we're streaming to YouTube also right now. They will be just random. There's no rhyme or reason. So like, you know that our Facebook Lives are the first Wednesday, the third Wednesday of every month, unless it's a holiday or something. So these are going to be one-off. We are calling them, shoot, I can't think of what they're called right now. We're calling them something different. They're going to be quick, 15 to 30 minute. I don't want to call them a live, just pop-up videos. We're going to pop in. You're going to see all of the educators you already know. You're going to see some people that you don't normally see. And then there's actually a new face coming too. We have a great educator in Canada, Claire. She's going to be doing a couple of these too. So they're just going to be random, and it's just a quick little, hey, let me show you something that was exciting that we've done. Again, there's no rhyme or reason to them. Our first one you will see under our events tab is going to be actually this Friday. So you'll know about them about a week in advance. But if you happen to miss it, or you happen to just pop up on Facebook and you're like, oh, that's a random live, that's normal. We're trying something for the summer. And so we hope that you enjoy these quick little pop-ups with different people and different topics and things like that. They're going to be quick. They're going to be showing you something. They're there to answer any questions. It's not like they're going to do it and then leave you. So, but we're hoping for them to just be a short little something for you to enjoy throughout your week and throughout the summer as well. So our next Husqvarna Viking Live is actually on a Tuesday, and it's because June 19th is Wednesday and we are closed that day. So it's going to be Tuesday, June 18th in 2 weeks at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Central. It's going to be with Mickey Hudson, who is going to be walking you through all the steps and techniques needed to create this cute drawstring bag. And it's all going to be done on a serger. So if you have a serger, or you've been thinking about a serger, or you don't have one and you just kind of want to come see what she's making, and it's really neat, you can join us that day. It's again June 18th. It's a Tuesday. And then on June 12th, next Wednesday, we're going to have a My Sonnet Live. And I am so excited about this one. I know you guys are going to be super excited too. It is with none other than Janie Lance. She is one of our My Sonnet gurus. She goes along with Phil and Dawn. Like, she is one. If you have a software question, she's going to be able to answer it for you, hopefully. That's going to be next Wednesday, June 12th at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific. And Janie will be going through techniques on how to create cutwork designs using the My Sonnet software. So cutwork is such a fun thing to do if you haven't done it before, or if you have and you just use the normal designs that we have already in the machine or in the library. She will be showing you how to create your own. So I think it's definitely going to open up a whole new realm of things if you aren't already doing that. So if there's not any other questions, I will be checking on these questions for the next week or so. Feel free, if you're watching it later, to type those in and I will get those answered. And the question that I know that I am going to look into is if there's a maximum number of nodes you can do. So I'm going to find out that answer. But if there's not anything else, thank you again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it and are excited about Stitch Creator, this exciting new feature we have on the Designer Epic 3. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.